The source material for this reaction video has been edited for pacing. Dead air and unrelated material have been removed, but clips remain chronological and in context, for edutainment purposes only. Madison Harnish produces content on 2 channels, Cruel World Happy Mind and the less formal Mad Is On. This video's from the latter, and it is nonsense. Join me on a fascinating journey of a child's idea of how the world should work.
It's my hot body, I'll do what I want.
It's showtime.
Thanks.
We need to talk about internet internalized misogyny.
No, we need to talk about internalized misogyny on the internet.
Social media has become sectioned off more and more.
According to you, everything is more and more. You need more adjectives.
Call it an echo chamber, call it a cult with an influencer at the head proselytizing to their followers.
Call what? These things? Social media as a whole? Different groups of social media? Are you trying to point out that influencers have a disproportionate amount of influence over the lives of their followers? What are you trying to say?
Who evangelize their message?
Do these influencers have internal misogyny?
There are more and more social media takedowns, dog piles, and punching down than ever before.
For my off-the-cuff reaction, check out the end of the video. It's too long to keep in here.
And opinions are becoming more and more partitioned, with little left for nuance or forgiveness.
The most black and white lol cows, the Holsteins, will always use the word nuance.
Remember the saying, facts don't care about your feelings?
You just put it in front of me.
Nowadays, it seems like opinions are being treated as facts.
That's the entirety of human history.
As small clips are being shared online, clipped to discern whatever.
You mean people are being clipped out of context? Discern doesn't even fit here.
And opinions are being chosen as an objective truth.
Opinions are being chosen as an objective truth. There's so much wrong there.
And social media has picked apart men online for the role they've played. The incels, the manosphere, even the lonely gamers being a part of every negative and hateful corner on the internet.
Why are we talking about men?
Not as many people are looking to women as much when it comes to taking a part in online internet misogyny, takedown campaigns, and in general, online hate.
No, you're just not seeing it because you're not in high school.
And honestly, it's not because women don't deserve to be called out for the hate they cause online, the misogyny they take part of.
You mean like your internalized misogyny, which means you have to present yourself as a delicate baby who needs to be cuddled by a blankie?
If we want to have a more equal society,
we don't want equality. Equality isn't justice. What you want is equity for people to get what they need.
It is equally as offensive to sit here and pretend that only male spaces take part in online hate.
So why are you saying it? Nobody is saying that except you.
And remain completely silent when it comes to the online bullying and harassment in women's spaces.
Madison, people weren't bullying you. They were giving you constructive criticism, and your ego can't take it, so it finds it offensive.
Yet, for the most part, conversations surrounding online hate and internet misogyny have stopped completely at the focus of men.
You already said that.
And I would argue this has caused the problem of internalized misogyny within women's online spaces to get worse and worse.
And I would argue you have no evidence of this.
Largely because internalized misogyny is still greatly misunderstood.
Just because you don't understand something doesn't mean the rest of the world isn't in on it.
So it's become a weapon of self-destruction in the modern digital age,
as opposed to the modern analog age. Oh, and if you were unaware of Madison's political leanings, here's some of her evidence.
Look at this feminism right here. Holy They talk about toxic masculinity.
My choice to listen to what matters and not your voice. Get out.
We want to hear her, not you.
Yes, this is a clip from InfoWars. Yes, this is that annoying right-wing bitch who goes around trying to get left-wing bitches to fight with her. This is what Madison thinks evidence is.
So let's talk about how, through various methods of internalized misogyny, women are eating themselves alive online.
Misogyny doesn't have a method. I think she meant types.
And how this has persisted for a very long time.
Yeah, but to you, a very long time is probably 6 months, so...
But has exacerbated recently.
Exacerbated, huh? Sounds like a dirty word.
And what we can do to help the issue.
Why do we want to help it? Don't we want to stop it?
Internalized misogyny refers to women's use of sexism directed towards other women or themselves, even in the absence of men.
This paper is a report on a study that only consisted of 5 5 women ages 18 to 25.
It's a form of oppression that twists the minds of the women being targeted by it, making them feel the same way about themselves as their oppressors do.
Why, yes, this is an undergrad's thesis.
Researcher Chesler.
It's not cricket to use somebody else's embedded citation as your own citation. This refers to Phyllis Chesler, who is an American writer, psychotherapist, and professor emerita of psychology and women's studies. But Madison doesn't know that.
Argues that to understand how internalized misogyny functions, it's important to admit that women are not less sexist than men, and to not idealize them, but rather accept them as human beings who are capable of both compassion and cruelty, cooperation and competition, selfishness and altruism.
This is common sense, I fear.
This acknowledgement is essential in addressing the complexities of internalized misogyny.
Misogyny?
And dismantling its pervasive influence. Online, this is manifested as women policing other women for their online behaviors.
The implication being that women are only bullied online for what they do online and not stuff that happens in their real life, which is obviously incorrect.
Either to keep them in line, bash them entirely, or to dogpile if their behavior is deemed unacceptable.
Well, in the case of that specific young woman, it turned out to be her mother who was doing that bullying.
I will not be shamed out of discussing this by people who say it's slut shaming or it's not relevant.
Yeah, I don't need to watch Megyn Kelly slut shame Kamala Harris to know that Megyn Kelly has an internalized misogyny problem.
While there are always valid reasons to critique anyone of any gender online.
Only online? It's only okay to critique people online?
I mean, obviously, where is the line exactly?
You just said you were on it.
I think we should start asking ourselves this question, as well as who is judging what is acceptable or unacceptable behavior? Who is making those rules?
You don't know. You don't know the answer, then you're obviously too undereducated to be discussing this topic.
And are we policing people's behaviors online according to patriarchal standards?
It's not the patriarchy that's making me critique you. It is your own thoughts, actions, and deeds that I am critiquing here. Leave them out of it.
We could even talk about how social media itself is structured to prop up this behavior.
What behavior? Which behaviors? Misogyny? Cyberbullying?
How even before the founding of Facebook was its precursor called Face Mash, created by Mark Zuckerberg in 2003 to rate the attractiveness of female Harvard students.
And the original Facebook is a kind of yearbook that's printed of all the freshmen of the incoming year at Harvard. So that's where the name comes from.
But certainly that hasn't trickled over into the culture of social media.
There's no trickling involved. What you're stating is that it's ingrained in the social media itself.
And of course, women are nowhere near the ones to blame for all of this.
Then why are you making a video calling out all women on their internalized misogyny?
But what happens when we exist in the online culture that perpetuates this every day?
Based on your original work from about 5-6 years ago, I think it turns you into an idiot.
What happens when we enable it? Everyone ultimately will have their own standards for what is legitimate criticism and what crosses the line into unacceptable or too harsh.
Yes, they canceled PBS, but I can still watch Sesame Street on YouTube. I don't need it in your video.
For me personally, criticism surrounding racism and criticism surrounding the exploitation of others are always valid reasons to criticize.
Awesome. Madison, you're a racist. And I'm critical of that.
Hateful, vindictive behavior is also always a valid reason to criticize someone.
And who is the arbiter? Who decides what is hateful and vindictive as opposed to genuine?
But to judge someone's intent is where things get dicey, because your own biases can easily get in the way.
You mean your own internal bias against criticism?
Especially if you're dealing with internalized misogyny.
Sometimes the problem isn't other people. Sometimes the problem is inside yourself.
Or any other sort of bias. You can easily characterize someone in a negative way when the reality may be very different.
Yeah, but it's not different. You use white woman tears to get out of arguments. You're blatantly racist. You insinuated that people are pedophiles for wearing the kind of clothing you do. It's you, girl!
Personally speaking, I don't think it's ever okay to nitpick someone's behavior.
Then I expect you to explain clearly what the difference is between nitpicking and criticism.
To criticize someone for the way they speak, for things they can't change about themselves or their appearance.
Saying you use white woman tears isn't about your appearance. It's about your status in a society of institutionalized racism.
That's overall not okay.
If you don't want the criticism, stop producing content.
I'm also of the personal belief that gossip and drama shouldn't be villainized or demonized.
Why? Because it would taint your memories of Serena and Blair?
And that it's sexist to do so.
Didn't the gossip girl turn out to be a guy anyway?
I and many women and people online have made many valid videos online.
Wait, you're not a woman or a person?
Criticizing people for many valid things.
Like what? What's valid? Give us examples. You haven't been.
And I don't want this video to be an opportunity to accuse any woman making a critical video of being misogynistic.
So you're not going to tell me I have internalized misogyny?
This video simply has the intention to discuss a larger pattern I've been seeing that goes beyond gossip and drama into blatant vindictive behaviors.
You mean like people calling CPS on Ethan and Gila Klein?
That have escalated so far that they should be noticed and addressed.
Yes, everyone noticed when you called Gila Klein a pedo because of her Teddy Fresh designs, especially since you surround yourself with stuffed toys and wear things like baby doll dresses.
There's an online study with a quote that reads, "The women propagating hate against other women
This isn't an online study, it's an undergraduate thesis from Germany.
are especially interesting. Why do they contribute to the harsh judgment of their peers?
Why do you have to read this all aloud to us? I already read both of these papers.
The pick-me girl phenomenon is a good example of that. Yet the girl who makes fun of her also is. Hating on women has become a valuable type of content that is guaranteed to provoke reactions, likes, and shares.
Reminder, she's not quoting an online study, she is quoting a 2024 undergraduate thesis.
First, let's talk about the pick-me.
I'm looking at her.
According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, pick-me is a slang term for a person, usually a young woman, seen as behaving in a contemptible way for attention and approval, usually from male peers.
Explain to me how this t-shirt is not that. Oh, and you do have great tits, but your opinions are crap.
It is most often used in the expression pick-me girl, which disparages a young woman who is seen as faking interest in stereotypically male activities or conforming to traditional values at the expense of other young women.
You're in there. Conforming to traditional values at the expense of other women, that's your whole shtick.
It is also used in pick-me boy,
But we're not talking about boys, we're talking about internalized misogyny.
referring to a young man who feigns emotional vulnerability to win the attention of women. More generally, pick-me can refer to anyone thought to be trying too hard to earn acceptance.
You mean like all the white Americans making content about Palestine?
I don't know about you, but to me, the idea of pick-me being the worst type of woman out there, the more I think about it, has started to feel icky.
Because it's you.
Because oftentimes, someone who is called a pick-me is really someone who's kind of isolated, who has wrong ideas about how to get attention and misrepresents their interests.
Yes, you are isolated and you do have the wrong ideas on how to get attention.
The pick-me will learn eventually that doing the "I'm not like other girls" trope to put other women down just leaves you in a room with other people who are also totally okay with putting other women down.
But you're not talking about real people, Madison. There is no such real person as the pick-me. Everybody is an individual with a multifaceted personality and a variety of interests. You can't make everything black and white.
But the thing is, the pick-me isn't necessarily cruel or abusive towards other women.
Well, I wouldn't know because all of the evidence you've shown so far are TikToks of people talking about other people being pick-me's. So,
They can be in the process of getting picked, but that isn't a defining quality of a pick-me.
Someone find this girl a map so she can return to her thesis.
There has been the mean girl trope. In the media, the mean girl trope has been portrayed as the conventionally pretty bully in school.
You're talking about fiction when you say in the media and when you use the word trope and you're talking about pick-me's and mean girls. This is fiction.
Cyberbullying isn't spoken about as much. Remember back in the day when there was huge campaigns, especially in schools, to stop cyberbullying.
Back in the day, you were a teenager.
Yet it feels that lately those have ceased to exist.
Look, she figured something out. Yes, Madison, you're in the grown-up world now. It's a little different.
Yet mass hate campaigns and online pile-ons are still occurring.
Show me the evidence. You haven't shown any evidence for any of your claims.
And the unspoken aspect of it is that the mean girls still exist, are still involved in online bullying, and they've normalized their own behavior to such an extent that they can't see its toxicity.
It's unspoken because it's untrue. You're making shit up again.
You're making things up again, Arnold.
But it worked, Dad!
Stretching the truth again, and you know it.
Don't be a fibbing friend, Arnold.
Joseph Smith?
Because a lie is a lie.
And internalized misogyny. They're still looking to the Regina George stereotype from the media.
The people you're talking about don't actually exist. You've made up this group of evil women.
Instead of maybe looking in the mirror.
I'm not sure Lord Farquaad is a mean girl.
On the other hand, for a period of time, there was the girl's girl.
Holy crap, it got even dumber.
A statement meant to represent a girl who was essentially the opposite of a I keep booping the mic. A statement meant to represent a girl who is essentially the opposite of a pick-me.
So the opposite of you. A woman who feels the need to keep in her microphone boops because they're so cute.
And all about supporting other women.
You can support women without supporting every single individual woman.
The girl's girl was quickly used as a weapon. If you aren't doing something deemed girl's girl enough, then, well, you're bad.
Says who? Another random TikToker whose video you stuck in here to fill space?
You need to be girl's girl.
I think I forget that.
That was easy. Her videos are full of TikTokers saying things that she believes for some reason.
But it seems that everyone had different definitions of what defines a girl's girl.
Then go back to Merriam-Webster.
Again, policing other women on their behavior so they fall in line. Eventually, the term girl's girl dropped off from being used so frequently.
Whoa, that's radical, man! I can't believe they'd stop using a term! Cowabunga!
Just like the term girl boss, which was once used positively, but every time there's a positive term for women, it always seems like it ends up getting weaponized as a way to police women, keep you in check, and the thing is, it's by other women.
This is the pattern of language in a society. It's nothing new, unique, or exclusive to misogyny.
Are you girl boss enough? Are you a girl's girl? I fear our priorities might be a little bit skewed.
What do you mean, our? I don't have any of the same priorities you do, nor do I have the ones that you've been describing in this video.
What are you wearing? And is it acceptable in today's society? Is it a clean girl aesthetic or is it pick-me?
There's no such thing as a pick-me aesthetic.
What is your identity and how does it assimilate into girl culture and our patriarchal system?
Get off your ass and go read some Betty Friedan.
If you're too bold, brash, or stepping out of line, there are systems in place to put you back in line. It might hurt to hear it, but deep in your core, you know intuitively that we've developed systems to police one another.
It's not deep down in my core. It's up here near the top because I'm highly aware of how society functions. Because, you know, I'm an adult in society. Maybe you need some society.
Mostly because the women in our lives, our mothers and grandmothers, have done the same thing to us our entire lives.
You mean raised us, trained us, and taught us to be women in our society?
As we were growing up, forming our own identity, if we were too much, we were often told so.
They should have just given us Ritalin, huh?
Swiftly and, well, aggressively.
Aggressively? Are you telling us you were abused?
To keep us in line. Another manifestation of internalized misogyny.
We're back at the undergraduate study of 5 women.
Studies have also shown that there's a greater tendency for aggression towards women who violate societal norms.
What studies? Show me the studies.
Such as feminist, career women, or sexually explicit women.
Those darn sexually explicit women.
Because they're perceived as more threatening to patriarchal society and its established roles and norms.
What are the established rules and norms of patriarchal society? You've never said. Do you know?
I remember growing up, I loved anime, particularly Sailor Moon. I wanted to dress very strangely for the time, even wearing multiple outfits in a day.
That's not strange. It's called playing dress up. Most children do it.
And I drew different anime characters all over my homework and school papers when I was bored.
Everybody does that. It's not just you.
And I remember often getting judged and even getting in trouble for this.
Were you raised in a commune?
I felt really embarrassed about it, kind of shamed about it.
Why are we we talking about your childhood?
In elementary school, I also remember a girl who was really shy who ended up farting in the middle of class, and the whole class laughed at her and teased her about it. And without thinking about it, I blurted out, "It's natural," because I could see how mortified she was at the time. Obviously, instead of people going, "You know, you kind of have a point there," the whole class turned their attention to me and laughed at my statement. And for the next few weeks, a few people would look at me and mock my statement and say, "It's natural," in a joking tone.
I'm not your therapist.
And objectively, farts are funny, a humor fit for all ages. While a lot of bully behavior has names, it hasn't necessarily been applied to this sort of online internalized misogyny behavior.
The word cyberbully just doesn't do it.
Outside of incel culture and the manosphere, people also use the label cancel culture nowadays, but I would argue what I'm talking about specifically is both within and outside of that particular label.
Then why is it here? Did you just get addicted to screenshotting dictionaries?
There's also the pick me, which again is kind of both within and outside of this label. What if there's a more sinister form of internalized misogyny than the pick me that no one is talking about? One that isn't about setting yourself apart from other women so that you're picked or chosen, or even being seen as the best girl's girl or girl boss.
I forget, she's so young. She doesn't know about girl power.
Because it's not about being picked at all or rising to the top, but instead bringing everyone else down to your level.
And your level is so low I couldn't limbo it.
Attacking, lashing out. Hostile sexism encompasses various manifestations, including the utilization of aggressive language, sexist slurs, passive-aggressive conduct, victim blaming, and denial.
But you failed to establish norms, so how are we supposed to determine what falls under these categories?
There's many instances where women have brought up allegations of abuse and harassment and were blamed for it.
Many instances? There's a fucking Googleplex.
The focus shifted onto them and their actions, the narrative that they had equal blame in what took place.
You mean the time before?
We're talking about sexual harassment here, and I don't have to take it.
The concept of mutual abuse has largely been debunked by advocates.
This is a superfluous tangent that should have been cut.
And what most people think is mutual abuse is usually reactive abuse, where one person is provoking another over and over and over again, trying to get a reaction out of them.
And I'm further confused. Do you guys see the internalized misogyny? I'm not seeing it. Where is it?
So they're able to DARVO them or point the finger at them and say they're taking equal part in the abuse.
This video is DARVO. You're denying the fact that you committed any offenses and you're trying to reverse victim and offender. You never did anything wrong, other people misunderstood you, and now other people are attacking you and bullying you, right? That's your POV? You're the narcissist.
There's some modern instances I could bring up.
Yeah, but you're not going to, and that's good because they don't belong in a video about internalized misogyny anyways.
And even then, I'm nervous what the general reaction would be. How many people would debate me in the comments over whether or not the woman in question deserved the level of public backlash she received?
I don't need to debate you in comments. You are the woman in question, and there's no debate to be had. You cannot accept constructive criticism, and you have to warp your thoughts around it in order to make it something else that doesn't damage your ego.
Or has equal blame because she's unlikable. I think when talking about victim blaming and how public smear campaigns take place,
you're not a victim, and you were the one who took part in a public smear campaign.
It's important to discuss the MeToo movement. What kickstarted the MeToo movement was, infamously, the New York Times launching a story about Harvey Weinstein's long history of sexual assault and harassment.
Yeah, she just inserted an entire news story into this video. Why?
The way that women were abused in workplaces and the entertainment industry.
The entertainment industry is a workplace.
Had been spoken about covertly for a long time before the MeToo movement, but there were often narratives centered around shaming and victim blaming involved in the conversation. What was she wearing? She must have slept her way to the top.
Please don't make me watch Megyn Kelly again.
If a woman received praise and accolades, she must have done something sexual or debased herself in some way to get it. If a woman was brought down or victimized, the immediate question was, what did she do to deserve it?
Why are you making up sexual assault victims to talk about?
Yet the shock surrounding the Harvey Weinstein story opened a dialogue for many women to come forward with their stories. The now infamous She Media Men list begun by journalist Maura Donegan.
It isn't infamous. It was restricted to Manhattan. Cool fun fact. It ended up in the Epstein files. Yay!
The common denominator has been, as sociology professor Christy Thornton noted,
we don't need to watch you read.
Looking back now, it's hard to remember a time when majority of women experienced sexual violence in their life, yet it wasn't an openly discussed thing.
Modern statistics put it as 1 in 4 women have been sexually assaulted, not most women.
Because women weren't believed. But Me Too existed for years before the Harvey Weinstein story came to light, if you could believe it.
I already know it was started by Tarana Burke, who is a black woman, so maybe that's why you couldn't believe it.
There were people who had been doing the work for years, yet it took something major, something public and mainstream, for women's stories to finally be believed.
It got attention because it finally got known that some of the beautiful women were suffering too. The beautiful white women.
Yet still, some critics of the Me Too movement were women themselves.
Women can be assholes too.
Speaking out against the danger of women coming forward. In fact, 100 prominent French women.
Is this gonna lead to Brigitte Bardot?
You know, a witch hunt being a historically prominent thing that targeted women.
And old men. And the disabled.
Though in the German lands, when the Great Witch Panics happened, men, women, and children were caught up in the panic.
The German lands. Is that like the womb lands?
I have an ache that lives deep in my womb lands. And sometimes I just cry from my soul about it.
To be fair.
And you're still wrong. The entirety of the European witch hunt went after people of both genders, not just in the German lands, as you read on a fucking message board.
Most reprehensible was when French radio host and former porn star Brigitte Lahaye said that some women enjoy being raped.
I guess I called the wrong Bridget.
Recently, we've been hearing a lot about purity testing on the left. But years ago, during the Me Too movement, before Diddy, before Jeffrey Epstein, this was also something people were complaining about regarding Me Too, being essentially a way to purity test.
Are you referring now to your own purity test, your apology, and talk about Palestine? Because I covered it.
French actress Catherine Deneuve. Sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong.
Apology not accepted. You could have easily looked up how to say the name correctly.
Signed a letter warning against Puritanism associated with the Me Too movement. There was even a New York Times article written about her statements against the movement.
Merde. Je ne sais quoi, français?
Women speaking out about the sexual violence and sexual assault they were experiencing was Puritanism. Catherine ended up apologizing for these statements after receiving backlash.
The parallelism is stunning. This is like the situation with your Ethan Klein video.
Saying, I fraternally salute all the women victims of odious acts who may have felt aggrieved by the letter in Le Monde. It is to them and them alone that I offer my apology.
Okay, French women have internalized misogyny. I mean, she used fraternal instead of sororal, so...
Meanwhile, another, also French, famous actress, Brigitte Bardot,
yay, what's my prize?
Spoke against the movement, saying to the French magazine Paris Match, the vast majority are being hypocritical and ridiculous. In the past, Brigitte Bardot has been fined for provoking discrimination and racial hatred against the Muslim community in France.
We know. She was an absolute shit of a person.
Yeah, I think it's most disappointing when other women who are in power punch down instead of standing alongside victims.
Don't worry, honey. You're in America. We ain't like these French bitches. We stand up for each other here. We girls.
This is also why girl boss feminism is, well, a lie.
What did I just tell you? What did I just tell you?
A cute word to put on a mug that effectively does nothing.
According to your examples, only in France.
We've seen time and time again that when a woman, particularly a white woman,
is this about you again?
Rises to power to try and survive in the systems in place, she will perpetuate harm instead of actively oppose it.
All women, but especially white women. Got it.
For her own self-betterment, at the cost of others. Continuing cycles of harm.
Oh my god, this is all feminist discourse from the 1980s.
This is why I loved the quote in my Secret Lies of Mormon Wives video that said something along the lines of, modern white feminism has become white women aspiring to be like their rich white fathers.
That's the feminism of 2010.
For example, the Time's Up page associated with the Me Too movement links to leanin.org.
That's a blatant lie. It doesn't, and there's no evidence it ever did.
As a trusted partner organization. Leanin.org describes itself itself as an organization to help women achieve their ambitions and work to create an equal world.
That's great, but it doesn't have anything to do with what you said it did.
Sounds great, right? The organization was inspired by Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg.
I think I figured out why she doesn't like Sheryl Sandberg.
Who wrote the book Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead. The system doesn't need to change. Women, it's your fault. You aren't leaning in hard enough.
It doesn't matter. You made up this connection to the MeToo movement. There's no connection.
Working hard enough. You don't have enough will to lead. Of course, it's great that the organization is focused on equality in the workplace, and I don't want to discount their work overall, but the main tone feels like once again directing the onus and tone policing women.
Did you read the book?
And the approaches women are taking, rather than the overall system and structures in place.
So you did read the book.
Stupid, dumb woman isn't acting girl boss enough, being strong enough. Those notions of what defines strength, girl bossness, are rooted in white supremacy culture.
You could have demonstrated this using Bridget Bardot as an example. You didn't have to make up a false connection in order to pull someone else into this.
It's okay to be soft-spoken and still be a leader. You should be able to be gentle and still be listened to.
Show me where in the book it says the opposite. You can't, because you're making all this up, like you made a connection up to this book in the first place.
This all perpetuates the notion that if you don't want to be essentially victimized, you have to lean in to working hard.
You heard her, ladies. It's your responsibility to work hard to avoid being victimized.
And that from the top down, things will trickle to you.
That's an economic theory, sweetie.
And if we lift up enough women into high positions, and if you just work hard enough, then women will no longer be victimized and everything will be equal.
Says who? You're the only person saying this insanely stupid shit.
Yeah, how's that working out for us?
How's what working out? None of this is real. You've just made all of this stuff up.
Is Grimes or Hillary Clinton really saving the world here?
Madison, nobody adult thinks that way. Nobody depends on Grimes for anything, and Hillary Clinton was supposed to save us from Donald Trump, but people hate women too much. It's not the internalized misogyny here, it's the external that's the problem.
Yet through this dialogue, we've found new ways to place all of the blame onto ourselves.
What dialogue? What are you talking about?
Gender pay gap? Lean in more. Do more school, work harder, while also being the main caretaker at home, and put all of that on your shoulders.
More intelligent women than you have been discussing these topics for a lot longer than you've been alive, and you're not doing yourself any services by trying to imitate them.
You can do it all, and if you can't, that's the fault of your own, not the systems in place. Suddenly, women are becoming more educated than men.
That's not suddenly, that's the millennial existence. Welcome.
And while there's a large number of women entering the corporate pipeline, data shows, in partnership with leanin.org,
so now you're pro Sheryl Sandberg's organization?
That women are still struggling to climb the corporate ladder. Maybe they just need to lean in more?
You're taking the title Lean In as the entirety of the organization's ethos. Do you realize how stupid that is?
Instead of collectively working together to dismantle these systems, many women have been unable to tackle their own internalized misogyny.
Cite your sources. You just made all of that up. It's all bullshit. All you've been saying is nonsense. You've been giving your opinions without the benefit of facts to back them up, and you've been lying about the facts that you do present.
And continually blame each other for the problems faced in the day-to-day.
You're not being attacked by unhappy women. You're being criticized by more intelligent women.
There's so many examples throughout history of a woman who's been targeted with such intense veracity.
Well, if they were attacked with veracity, that means they deserved it. Do you mean vehemence?
And usually the outlier is she did not conform to the patriarchal norms and was hated with such intensity.
Nobody hates you with intensity. You're not worth it.
Sometimes her life even destroyed over it. I mean, one of the clearest examples of this taking place are the witch trials.
How may I teach my sons to walk like men in the world, and I sold my friends?
That's not a woman.
Where women who were perceived as strange and unusual were literally killed for it.
Tell me you didn't read The Crucible in 11th grade English without telling me you didn't read The Crucible in 11th grade English.
One of the most shocking aspects to me when learning about the witch trials were how many women were involved in accusing other women of being witches.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know. She really doesn't know.
You will say it, Corey.
Speak, man. We cannot relent.
What say you, Corey? Ma. Wait.
But many of the women or girls who accused other women of witchcraft were ultimately victims themselves. For example, in the Salem witch trials in colonial Massachusetts from 1962 to 1963,
you know what? Maybe she's not dumb. Maybe she's just dyslexic.
A group of girls claimed to be possessed by the devil accused local women of witchcraft. The girls at the time were only 9 and 11 years old.
The text is right there. How can you still be getting this wrong?
And started a chain reaction of hysteria as they were essentially coerced or forced to accuse other women in their town of witchcraft.
Ah, John!
Courage, man. Your good example may bring them to God as well.
Is this the effect of convincing people in an oppressed system that they can be saved simply by making another situation worse?
The Crucible is a play by Arthur Miller, written about McCarthyism, but using the Salem witch trials as the vehicle to convey the message. He used actual material from that time and real witness testimony. Giles Corey really said that.
Another prominent example, but in literature, is Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter.
This is very Madison. She doesn't like actually engaging with the reality of history, but she will engage with a fictionalized version of it as long as she can relate to it personally.
The Scarlet Letter is a literary classic.
And while this is an education channel, we are not doing a book report on The Scarlet Letter today. Let's move on.
What does this kind of sound like?
Something I had to write an essay about in middle school.
Kind of sounds like the modern day internet.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. A single sign of shame amongst a small community is very different from the World Wide Web.
Doesn't it? Kind of sounds like just being online.
No, it doesn't, and you are not Hester Prynne.
She was driven to the edge of her community and forced to live in isolation. We see this as horrific, like to think we're a much more evolved society, but I still question how much more evolved we really are.
Evolution never stops. We continually evolve, and reading classic literature with themes like this is how.
Here's the point of the video where I want to bring up more modern examples of online or media takedown.
An online takedown example would have to be modern.
Where people have targeted and harassed women for simply stepping outside of their prescribed roles or the status quo.
Are you going to help us by defining their roles and the status quo?
But part of me is a little bit afraid to. I feel like when I bring up each example, there will be comments that'll try to argue over the bad things that each woman has done.
The bad things each woman has done. Your vocabulary is positively puerile.
To show exactly why they deserved the harsh treatment they received. First, let's talk about Britney Spears. A famous, incredibly talented pop star begins to grapple with her mental health in the public eye for reasons most of us will probably never know.
Bipolar disorder type 2.
But one of the reasons likely being the constant stalking that the paparazzi and public were subjecting her to.
You think this is bad? Did you see what they did to Diana?
What do you think it'll take to get the paparazzi to leave you alone?
That man's a rapist. Why is he in your video?
You have to realize that we're people.
He's a rapist and he made Britney cry.
And instead of empathy or giving her privacy, she was judged and ridiculed in an unforgiving and harsh manner at the time. Shifting into extreme cruelty. In 2008, Perez Hilton even sold t-shirts asking why Britney Spears couldn't have died instead of Heath Ledger.
Yeah, he used to draw cum all over everybody. Lindsay, Britney, Paris. White splooge everywhere.
Hilton apologized for some of his more horrible stunts in 2020.
Lurid. The word is lurid.
In his 2020 autobiography, writing, "I have a ton of regrets. I never needed to be so mean or cruel."
All right, everybody, guess my next question. I bet you know what it's gonna be. Say it with me. What does this have to do with internalized misogyny online?
There was a moment when Britney Spears cried in an interview.
Yeah, you just showed us one. The rapist made her cry.
As Diane Sawyer blamed her for her breakup with Justin Timberlake.
Okay, you can bop me. I have to ask a couple of things about Justin.
Okay, of course.
So it's okay for a man to make Britney cry, but a woman isn't allowed to make Britney cry? Someone's got a little internalized misogyny going on here.
Not to mention when Justin Timberlake physically exposed Janet Jackson at the 2004 Super Bowl.
Are you saying that, like, Justin Timberlake sexually assaulted her, that was choreographed.
And somehow that led to the undoing of her career.
Don't take Janet Jackson's power away. She's been big since before you were born.
Let's talk about Miley Cyrus.
Is she a victim of internalized misogyny?
Someone who grew up under the harsh lens of Disney and had to go through the transition of being a beloved child star and then growing up under the public.
I can only come to one conclusion. You were keeping in all of these instances of booping the microphone because there were really dozens more and you cut out as many as you could, huh?
And then growing up under the public eye. When she tried to rebel from the picture-perfect image that was placed onto her and came out with bangers and the MTV performance, the public was so upset that she was breaking out of the mold they had given her that she was shamed, mocked, and ridiculed.
I think you're absolutely incorrect here. People aren't mad that Miley Cyrus grew up. People were upset with what Miley Cyrus chose as her milieu after she grew up. And you can see since then she has retired it and become more popular.
By major institutions and the like.
That's an SNL skit she's participating in of her free will as an adult. Why are you infantilizing her?
I need some freedom to grow up and make mistakes.
As you can see, it was a sketch especially written for her to have this conversation with the public. Madison, this isn't making fun of her. This is something she did on purpose to convey her feelings.
That's all I could ask for.
That was how America ended.
And that's a joke. It's a comedy show.
Then there's Kim Kardashian. Now, obviously, I think there are many valid reasons to criticize Kim Kardashian.
This is incredibly biased. There are much more serious reasons that people dislike Kim Kardashian.
As I have made deep dives on the Kardashian family.
Called it!
That being said, when Kim first rose to prominence, she was heavily criticized for a leaked sex tape, mocked and slut-shamed.
You mean the tape she sold to be distributed to make money?
Whether or not her family was behind the leak itself.
They didn't leak it. They monetized it. After it came out, Chris made a deal to produce legal copies of the video. And that deal is what started Kim Kardashian's fortune.
It doesn't excuse people shaming, mocking, and being so misogynistic towards her.
Yes, but this was the time of Perez Hilton and Come On Everything.
Another aspect of cruelty leveled at Kim was largely centered around her looks and body type.
Because that's her job. That's her job. Her job is to look a certain way.
Kim Kardashian is an incredibly beautiful woman.
She really was a lot more beautiful before she turned herself into a white girl.
Yet because she didn't look like the other famous women at the time, she was curvy and Armenian, the amount of disgusting comments levied her way was almost unbelievable.
Neither of those are the reasons people levied disgusting comments. The reason people levied disgusting comments was because her first starring role was in a sex tape with Brandy's younger brother.
I feel like the comments I could make regarding both Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan could be very similar.
Similar to each other or similar to Kim? Because Kim just copied Paris. One Night in Paris was Paris's debut. And then she got The Simple Life.
As both relate to the two of them being shamed for being party girls without examining the two's traumatic upbringings with any level of empathy.
That was Paris's job. It was her job to be a party girl. That's what she got paid for. That's what she got endorsements for. That's what Kim and all the other Kardashian Jenners copied.
Paris has spoken openly about the abuse she's received growing up, particularly at child wilderness camps.
So they don't need me to include the huge clip of video that you did.
Lindsay Lohan had a very traumatic childhood that has been noted and verified.
And do you feel like you grew up in a broken home? Oh, just waiting for dad to but not come home for 3 nights again. So it was always very up and down. Nothing was ever, it was really rocky.
Yet Lindsay was mocked and shamed when she was publicly grappling with addiction in the aftermath.
Look up her arrest record. That might clear things up for you.
Megan Fox has also spoken out about a lot of hate she's received.
Are these just examples of women that you looked up to when you were a little girl?
In one interview, Megan mentions how while a lot of younger girls loved her, most of the hate she gets is from older women.
No worries then. She's an older woman now.
Bachelorette star Hannah Brown speaks on slut shaming she received when openly discussing her sex life on the dating show.
You're showing me a lot of misogyny, finally, but it's all external.
Misty Copeland speaks on body shaming in her autobiography, Life in Motion, An Unlikely Ballerina.
You did ballet. It's like the body shaming capital of entertainment. Also, Misty Copeland has 2 portrait Barbie dolls. How cool is that?
She was told she couldn't be a ballerina because she was black and because those in the industry felt she didn't have the classic shape of a ballerina.
Where is the misogyny? Where is it? Assez racism?
I could talk about this endlessly, from Billie Holiday to Amy Winehouse and so many examples.
Neither of these women have a connection to Misty Copeland.
Just recently at Thanksgiving, I was lectured by someone for using an example of Brad Pitt in one of my videos.
You let yourself get lectured?
Because of the abuse allegations by his family, because women make false allegations all the time that destroy famous men's lives.
And the person lecturing you was a female, and that's where we're gonna get back to internalized misogyny? Yeah?
But just off the fairly simple research for this video,
you Googled and downloaded 2 PDFs. What do you mean research?
There's a deep well, a plethora of women whose careers have been destroyed not because of serious allegations, but due to them seemingly falling out of line and acting in a way media and culture has deemed unacceptable.
What was the point of the Brad Pitt anecdote?
Or simply because of qualities they naturally had and were born with. I can't help but notice this stark contrast.
What contrast? Are you trying to say that men are given the benefit of the doubt when women aren't?
I don't know what to do with it other than call it out.
But you haven't. If this is still about internalized misogyny as expressed online, then you're still far short of that thesis.
While the hate these women received came from all genders and was associated with misogyny.
No, it wasn't. You're the one making the association. The association doesn't even exist in the evidence you've presented.
What cannot be ignored and should be included in this discussion is that women also did take part in the hate, the misogyny.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
The oppression. According to a study titled Internalized Misogyny, the Patriarchy Inside Our Heads.
That's not a study. It's an article, an essay.
Internalized misogyny also creates confirmation bias.
You mean like this video where you, for example, decided that people dislike Kim Kardashian because she tried to use ChatGPT to pass the bar exam? That kind of thing?
Where you only see women online in a certain way, so anything deemed problematic only reinforces that in your brain.
Who are you talking to right now? I'm not some incel gooner. I don't see women online in just one way.
And anything good is automatically ignored in your mind.
Maybe your mind, you're still using words like bad and good.
It's a losing game for the women who may genuinely have something, well, genuine to provide.
Like you? You're talking about yourself again? You do provide humor to my life, so there's that.
It's like they're putting content out into the world with a held up to their head.
You feel like you've got a gun to your head when you put out your content? That's a you problem.
And one wrong move will set off a ton of people and confirm what most people already subconsciously thought about them the entire time.
No, that's your own confirmation bias confirming that people always thought you were an idiot. People didn't think that. That's a new thought for people.
Studies also show that the comments under a post do affect the way people perceive the user who posted it.
Show me the study. You can't even properly differentiate between an essay and an actual study, so I doubt anything you've just said is true.
This is why harassment campaigns work, but some researchers believe you are more susceptible to this if you have higher levels of internalized misogyny.
Which researchers? The undergrad from Germany or the PhD from Spain?
I cannot say susceptible right now in that sentence.
There has been a considerable body of research exploring the idea that outsider input on social media, such as comments on a post, affects the way that people perceive the content.
This is someone's schoolwork. You stole someone's homework. This is a presentation for class. Why are we watching it?
Essentially, if you see an Instagram post of a woman posing and a comment says, "stupid bitch," Normally, most people would think that's a really weird comment. However, if you have high levels of internalized misogyny, this comment may actually influence how you view the woman in the photo.
People aren't calling you a bitch because of personal internalized misogyny. People are calling you a bitch because of shitty things you said about Jews.
The sad thing is, women with high levels of internalized misogyny may even be aware of this, and so afraid of this reality becoming their own reality that they lash out at other women in hopes that it will somehow protect them from this same fate. There isn't really a strict definition for this sort of online behavior or archetype.
It's called cyberbullying.
One would think that it would be seen as the counterpart to the incel, but the femcel, which is seen as the counterpart to the incel, is described much differently.
So Madison wanted to use the term femcel, but then she found out it already existed.
Though the label femcel has been called the counterpart to the incel, I would argue that the way the femcel has been defined online currently,
and again I called it,
doesn't fit this definition.
Femcel and not just an incel.
Yes, that was her bad cut, and no, we're not watching this video either.
The femcels that have been pointed out online have been seen as essentially radical feminists who shut themselves away from the world and retreat into online echo chambers and social isolation.
You just made all of that up. Femcels are like incels. They're just loser gooners.
Studies also show these femcels that have been studied actually create supportive and welcoming communities.
You just said they were socially isolated.
The irony is that while internalized misogyny has been noted to cause women to pick apart other women due to their own self-hatred, femcels seek solace and support within their community.
I don't get it. Why is it ironic? Is it dramatic irony? Situational irony? I don't see any kind of irony, except maybe the kind that you bang together with Bronzy to make a noise.
Engaging in a discourse that, while acknowledging discrimination and loneliness, leads towards solidarity and mutual aid rather than hostility. Their approach is more aligned with critique of social norms and a quest for structural change.
Women are raised to be more social than men, so they talk more.
To me, that sounds very positive. The only similarities between a femcel and an incel is that both have an involuntary celibacy aspect.
When did this become a battle of the sexes?
But the ways in which they behave seems very different. The incel has been characterized to lash out. Is there an equivalency between women online?
You mean, is there a female equivalent to the incel? That's what you're asking?
Well, maybe not to the same extent, especially in violence, and I don't think it's healthy to make comparisons.
There is not an evil female online army persecuting you. It does not exist.
Stop trying to make
femcel
happen. It's not going to happen.
But I think that if parallels were to be made, it would be with women online who have high levels of self-hatred and internalized misogyny.
You're just trying to call all of the people who told you were wrong femcels or incels. You just want to categorize everybody into a big bad box so you can be the good girl.
That they lash out and participate in online takedowns, pylons, and hate campaigns to soothe their own ego.
This entire video is being made by you to soothe your own ego.
For example, I would argue that Pearl was not only a pick-me, but a self-hating person with high levels of internalized misogyny.
Yeah, but you don't have to. Everybody already knows.
This is a behavior where instead of directing all the anger and frustration a woman has with society with herself in a self-constructive way, she decides to direct it at other women.
Got it. The only appropriate harm is self-harm. I'll direct all of my internal hatred toward myself. Anybody got a razor blade?
Okay. This sort of archetype soothes their internalized self-hatred through the takedowns of other women.
An archetype is a word that we use in literature to describe a type of character. It isn't used about actual people.
The internet has allowed misogyny to congregate in large numbers and to criticize other women based on meaningless nitpicks like her looks, her attitude, everything about her, and it's been normalized.
Just like those unattributed numbers from CBS, this is all bullshit. You're making all of this up to soothe your own ego. Knock it off.
No one has really noticed this or called it out.
You can't say no one has noticed this when you've presented a small study and another academic article.
Because when internet misogyny happens, it's often assumed to be the men behind the issue.
No, it's not. You're just saying things that you think or have thought.
I kind of grew up thinking that millennials and Gen Z were better than the generations before when it came to misogyny.
They are. We are.
But the ways in which the internet in general gets so excited over another controversial woman is just kind of weird.
Then stop accusing rabbis of having evil thoughts about Palestine.
Again, there are legitimate reasons to criticize.
Okay, then what are we allowed to criticize you for?
And also, there are fair and ethical ways to criticize people. For example, I'm working on a video on Becca Bloom that I hope is fair, valid, and neutral.
She has hope, but no intention.
Instead of just going in on Becca in a misogynistic way. Women are often covering topics that have to do with women online
because over 50% of the human population is female.
Because women often tend to have a woman-based audience.
My audience is 80% Y chromosome.
So I also think it's invalid to just basically claim that any woman who makes videos about women is misogynistic.
Actually, earlier in the video, you said it was misogyny to criticize a woman. You said that.
But when does it cross the line into rumination?
Rumination. You are such a lol cow. You're even talking about your digestive system.
And a cycle where the same talking points are being repeated over and over into oblivion.
You mean like this one?
And it's not being constructive, but completely destructive.
Or maybe you don't have enough emotional intelligence to understand the difference.
Essentially, does the punishment fit the crime?
People criticizing you is punishment?
Again, personally speaking here, though I often don't like diving into personal anecdotes in my videos too much.
You mean like stories about how you used to play dress up and doodled on your homework, which of course no other child has ever done?
One of the things I've noticed most within the criticism I've received of my own content, or just existing online, is people criticizing me for the way that I speak.
That's because you're an English-only speaker who has no grasp of syntax, punctuation, grammar, or vocabulary.
Either I'm not speaking fast enough for them, or I mispronounced a word. If it's an important cultural word or a name, I understand that completely.
Like Catherine Deneuve?
But making an occasional mistake on a mispronunciation and using that as a way to not take me seriously or call me stupid feels like a derailment and a major logical fallacy.
You're not occasionally mispronouncing a word. You're doing it on all occasions. You always do it. You mispronounce words, you have abysmal syntax and grammar, and your vocabulary is at the level of a third grader.
Or if I'm participating in a live stream, which I'm new to doing and wanting to do more of because it's certainly a weak point for me online, it's my frequent use of filler words.
It isn't the filler words. It's the fact that you need them, and you need so many of them because you don't have the necessary thoughts to make the right words.
Which I'm sure could be obnoxious to listen to, but instead of judging what I'm saying based on its merit, everything becomes about tone policing.
Then you should love this video because it's all about how little merit any of your statements have.
The way in which I'm saying it. Tone policing is something women and those in marginalized communities have dealt with for a long time.
But I'm having to deal with it now, so now it's a problem because I'm a typical white woman who doesn't understand my own prejudices.
For example, the use of AAVE by Black individuals was tone policed as a form of discrimination and a means to criticize and dismiss Black people.
African American vernacular English is not the same thing as tone policing. Code switching is not tone policing. Those are different concepts.
Rather than listening to the merits of their words, the use of like is seen as evidence that a woman is vapid, stupid, not to be taken seriously.
That's a sign you should remove it from your vocabulary.
Women are conditioned to use filler words more frequently in conversation because they're more likely to be interrupted.
You're not interrupted on live streams. It's just a lot of dead air with you occasionally adding a filler word. You can't argue your way out of this criticism.
Point derailed, not listened to. And yet filler words were also deemed something to be seen as stupid, as a reason to not take them seriously. As this study notes, another strong aspect of internalized misogyny is the internalization of the feeling to never be good enough.
What does this have to do with your filler words? Or your mispronunciations?
Used as a gap filler or an introduction. You know, that one hit home.
Why? are I don't know your filler words.
It was really tempting to bring up specific examples of content creators in this video who dogpile on women, who use logical fallacies and misogynistic talking points to participate in takedowns as opposed to engaging critically and logically with the online rhetoric.
But that's not the subject of the video. You said this video is about the internalized misogyny, which causes people to criticize you.
But if I were to do so, I'm afraid this video would easily turn negative.
Well, it's certainly not a positive video.
The content I could essentially call out could become endless.
No, you're not capable of it. You really aren't. You're not capable of that. That's my job.
Escaping internalized misogyny is, well, virtually impossible in a patriarchal world.
So it's not my fault I have internalized misogyny that makes me criticize you. It's the fault of the patriarchy. I knew it.
Naturally, it seems much of the online world is simply drawn to content that contains more misogyny as opposed to content that actively works against it.
What does that even mean?
And it seems like ultimately that's something that you have to actively work against within yourself, no matter your gender. That doesn't mean dialogue, criticism, or callouts are inherently misogynistic.
You've made it very clear. The only ones that are definitely misogynistic are the ones directed at you.
I myself will likely make many deep dives on women who are famous or influencers, speaking on their stories, influence, and criticizing them where I deem it's valid.
Yeah, but you've got shit judgment.
But I think there should be more responsibility placed in the way we go in on, well, people in general.
Says the woman who produces drama content for her living.
There's a growing trend of dehumanization online.
That's not actually true, though. You just pulled that out of your ass.
Calling out people simply for acting cringe or doing something embarrassing. Using gotchas as a way to slam dunk on someone or nitpick.
One woman's nitpick is another woman's valid critique.
What road are we traveling down, and what is the end destination here?
Ask Robert Frost.
Social media already exposes people to some of the darkest aspects of humanity. Do we really need to punch down whenever possible?
No, we punch up. I punch up. I'm punching up. I'm the small bean here.
And if we are doing so, maybe it's time to look inward at what that really says about us. That maybe it's a coping mechanism some people are doing to soothe themselves because their lives are spinning out of control.
I'm sorry your life feels out of your control, but I can't do anything about that.
The world is falling apart. Every day they're becoming more and more oppressed.
Who's they?
But they can leave a hate comment under a video, debase someone, and that makes them feel a little bit more in control.
Or again, they could make an hour-long video about an internalized misogyny problem that does not exist except when this particular individual woman is being criticized.
See you next time.
I'm looking forward to it. And if you too look forward to seeing people like Madison get criticized in a way that they probably should have been years ago, like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed yelling at the screen with me. I mean, do you know how many times I had to get up and walk away from this? Truly astounding. Your homework? Read The Crucible.
Hurry back.
There are more and more social media takedowns, dog piles, and punching down than ever before.
More and more, ever before. Are you trying to rhyme, or are you just dumb and wasting my time? Holy shit, this is painful, but I can't quit. It makes me so enraged, but it's funny too. I guess I'll just continue to do what I do and laugh at you.